What's up everybody, Conzi here. Special shout out to Falker22. 22 times you let the computer run the ball for you. And today we're going to look at the draft needs, or the offseason needs, however you want to say it. And we're going to start with the AFC and the AFC West, the Chargers, who have the first overall pick. The Chargers traded away Joey Bosa last season to acquire Marcus Mariota from the Titans. This filled one of the bigger needs past season 1, and that was quarterback. The Chargers are pretty solid all around, but moving Bosa opened up a need on the defensive line. So don't be shocked to see the Chargers take a defensive lineman with this pick. While they aren't hurting at defensive back, the Chargers could also take a defensive back with their first pick. Center is also another potential need here. I don't think centers were the first pick, especially the first overall. So I don't see that happening. So look for defensive back or defensive line with the first overall pick. The Kansas City Chiefs have a very good roster. But there is also an issue with aging players throughout the roster. The Chiefs do not have a first-round pick, which isn't really an issue at this point. The needs that I've found aren't glaring, but more so depth picks with an intent to start eventually. Adding another weapon to the receiving corps could help Tyreek Hill have an even greater impact against opposing defenses. The next two positions of need are of defensive line and safety. Both of these positions suffer from older players. For the Raiders, Derek Carr had a very rough season. He threw far more interceptions than we're used to seeing in his stat line. Jared Cook struggled with injuries throughout the season and is no spring chicken. For this reason, it wouldn't be unusual to see the Raiders take a tight end early in the draft. Penn, their left tackle, is getting older and there's no telling how long he plans to play. It's a very real possibility that the Raiders grab one or more offensive linemen in this draft. Linebacker is not so much of a need as it was prior to the Anthony Barr trade. Don't be surprised to see them pick a depth pick in the draft, though. The Raiders sent their first-round pick to the Vikings as part of the Barr trade, so any of these selections will come after the first round. The Denver Broncos traded for Eli Manning early in the season, and they saw pretty good success with him. It's unclear how the Broncos feel about Simeon or Lynch, and we aren't sure where Manning is after this season. Quarterback is a very real possibility for this first pick. Depending on how the draft unfolds on draft day, we could see them take a quarterback. Guard or anywhere else along the offensive line could be a possibility, especially on the left side. This offensive line class is very deep this year, so this could be a good selection for the Broncos. The no-fly zone is terrifying, but has some age concerns, at the safety position in particular. So this could be a possible selection. We're going to move on to the AFC North, starting with the Ravens. Has Joe Flacco played his last downs as a starter? This could be a question that the Ravens front office looks to answer during the offseason. Flacco's had decent success this year, but it isn't impossible that the Ravens look to find a new and less expensive option. The Ravens traded for Laramie Tunsil during the season, but still have a need along the offensive line, so the acquisition of another offensive lineman during the draft wouldn't be a shocker to see. Safety is another concern for the Ravens. Weddle is playing well, but is aging and will soon age out, so don't be surprised to see the Ravens take a safety early in the draft. The Cincinnati Bengals saw great success this year, but the Bengals were searching for a quarterback prior to the trade deadline throughout the year. This would seem to indicate that the Bengals are not sold on Andy Dalton and are looking to get younger at the position. The Bengals could also look to add some depth to their offensive line. Age at safety could be a concern that causes them to grab a safety early in the draft. However, if the Bengals are serious about getting a new quarterback, then they are very likely to take a quarterback in the first round. The Cleveland Browns have 5 picks in the first 2 rounds of the draft, including 2 first-round picks. They have a relatively solid roster with age concerns at many positions. Cornerback, linebacker, and offensive line are all positions that have need of depth. There's also a rumor going around the league that the Browns are not comfortable with their rookie quarterback, Deshaun Kaiser. Many around the league have claimed that he has been offered up in trade discussions several times this season. For this reason, it might not be crazy to think the Browns might take a quarterback with their first-round picks. With one of their first-round picks, I apologize. Regardless of what they decide to do, expect the Browns to have a big draft day. For the Steelers, Big Ben isn't getting any younger, but After throwing 41 touchdowns this year, it's tough to say that his play is declining. I mean, besides his 35 interceptions this year. The Steelers picked up Dobbs last year, so they might not take a quarterback in this draft. However, this roster has so much talent that I struggle to find any weak points to point out. I wrote down safety and offensive line as spots to add depth, but I wouldn't be surprised to see the Steelers simply go with the best available method this year. And now we're at the AFC East, and we're going to start with the Jets. And let's not joke around, the Jets need a lot of stuff. The most pressing concern could be the quarterback position, but that doesn't mean that they will take a quarterback with their first pick. Quarterbacks need weapons after all, and the Jets don't have many. So it's possible they take an offensive weapon at pick 3, whether it's halfback or wide receiver. Long gone are the days of Revis Island, and this defense has seen better days. The Jets could take a top corner with their 3rd overall pick, in hopes of revitalizing that defense. Outside linebackers also an area of concern. Now to the Patriots. The Patriots solidified their already strong offense by trading their first-round pick this year for Tevin Coleman. Their defense, however, could use a pick-me-up. Assuming that top defensive picks get taken early in this draft, it could be possible to see the Patriots add another offensive weapon to their arsenal. Specifically, the Patriots could add a wide receiver to a talented but less athletic wide receiver corps. On to the Dolphins. The Dolphins traded away Laramie Tunsil earlier this season, which opened up a need along the offensive line. Don't be surprised to see the Dolphins spend multiple picks to strengthen that line. The Dolphins organization has expressed their displeasure with Tannehill multiple times, so it might be the case that they decide to draft his replacement this year. Linebacker is also an area of need for the Dolphins as well, more so the outside linebacker spot. The Bills. The Bills could use some quality depth behind some very important positions on both sides of the ball. The Bills inexplicably released their rookie quarterback Peterman early this season. This brought up the issue in regards to who would step in to replace Tyrod when that time comes. Shady hasn't lost a step and is still as effective as ever, but age always wins against man, so the Bills need to start looking for their next guy at the position. They could also look to strengthen the offensive line. Defensively, the Bills are pretty sound, but they could look to left end and strong safety in the draft to improve that defense. The Bills have 2 first-round picks this year, so it's likely that 2 of these big needs are filled early in the draft. Now on to the AFC South, and we'll start with the Titans. The Titans shocked the world by trading their franchise quarterback Marcus Mariota for Joey Bosa this season. His replacement, Cardale Jones, doesn't look like a franchise quarterback, so there's a strong possibility that a quarterback is the first pick the Titans make this year. If the Titans do not take a quarterback, which is very unlikely, I suspect they will look for a defensive tackle. But let's be honest, the trading of Marcus Mariota created a Marcus Mari-oh-no, because the position needs to be filled soon. The Jaguars. Vincent Jackson tried out for the Jaguars in the preseason as a wide receiver. Unfortunately, age has caused him to slow down to the point that he couldn't effectively play the position anymore. Before releasing him, the Jaguars gave him one last chance to make the team, but as a tight end. Jackson made remarkable progress in developing their starter at the position. However, it is unlikely that the Jaguars decide to keep him after this season, which could mean that they could take a tight end with their first pick. Linebacker and safety are other positions that need depth added to them, but aren't necessarily dire needs. On to the Colts. The Colts struggled to get consistent looks in their offense this season. This could have resulted from a number of things, but it boils down to 2 major reasons: lack of firepower and lack of protection. The Colts had no rusher surpass 620 yards this season. The rookie Mack led the team with 613 rushing yards. The offensive line improved this season and didn't allow Andrew Luck to die, but he still got sacked 33 times. The Colts also saw very little production out of their tight ends this season, so they could also look to add firepower by drafting at that position. No matter how they choose to draft, something must be done about this offense. And finally, we are at the Texans. Deshaun Watson didn't have a terrible year. Well, yeah, he did, but it wasn't entirely his fault. Watson was sacked 63 times this season. To put that number into perspective, I only order pizza 7 times a week. 63 is 9 times that. All of this is to get to the point that the Texans need help on their offensive line. They could also use some help on the back end of the defense, so they could use a first-round pick on a defensive back. Then again, I'm not sure if they can fill any of these considering their first pick is in the 3rd round. Congratulations, Houston. If you like that video, make sure you like and subscribe to keep up with all of the future NNFL activity. If you want to keep up with stats and standings in between videos, go check us out at daddyleagues.com/NNFL. You can follow the NNFL on Twitter at @the_NNFL. If you have a comment or suggestion, leave it in the comment section below. Also, if you want to watch any of our games, check the description for all of the streaming links. As always, thanks for watching.